Time now for Michigan's #1 outdoor radio show, Mike Avery's Outdoor Magazine. Mike Avery has covered the outdoors in Michigan for more than 4 decades, and that tradition continues today. Outdoor Magazine is brought to you by Jay's Sporting Goods, the Eider Insurance Group, Angler Quest Pontoons, the Forward Corporation, Primal Outdoors, Security Credit Union, Offshore Tackle, Garber Chevrolet, Rapid River Knife Works, and by Michigan Brand Meats. Now, here's Mike Avery.
Well, thank you, Ken Hunter, for that introduction, and welcome to another edition of the Outdoor Magazine radio show here on the Outdoor Magazine radio network, and so glad to have you along with us on more than 30 radio stations across the great state of Michigan. How are you? It appears wintertime has decided that it's time to start. Anyway, I was talking last week and the last several weeks about, boy, we just haven't had much of a winter. But in this past week, and the forecast for the next several days, I guess it's going to be wintertime now, huh? I have noticed, though, and this is good news, we've got this going for us, the days are getting longer. Have you noticed that? It's getting light a little bit earlier in the mornings. It's staying light a little bit longer in the evening. So we're moving the right direction. Although, if you're an ice fisherman, a snowmobiler, a rabbit hunter, a skier, whatever you might say, hey, Avery, what are you talking about? I love wintertime. I get it. I get it. I think it's wonderful that we have different seasons here in our state to take advantage of. Personally, and I think it's because, you know, as I get older and more of a wuss, as Mark Torregrossa just called me off the air, I don't enjoy wintertime like I used to. But I get it. We need winter for the economic viability of a lot of businesses, companies, and even industries. And a lot of people enjoy it. I know people who would rather ice fish than open water fish. I personally can't relate to that, but I do certainly respect that. So is it the end of the open water fishing season? I guess it's going to depend where in the state you are, right? I just talked with, as I was walking in the studio here, I talked with Captain Jason Graham at Linwood Beach Marina and realized we record these shows midweek. But as I was walking into the studio this morning, Jason was just pulling up to the marina. He said the ramps were open. The channel to the bay was open. He did say with these temps the next few days, the marina is certainly going to freeze up. I don't know. The best thing is if you want to get out if you're looking to get out open water or ice, check ahead, call ahead, talk with your buddies in the area, talk with the local bait shops, the tackle companies. Get online and do some research because right now we're right in that transition period. Is it going to be ice? Is it going to be open water? I'm thinking this last week, have I done much? Have I done much outside? No. There was a certain football game that I wanted to make sure I stuck around to watch. Go Blue. We've had some family things that have kind of slowed us down the last several days, and some work-related projects, all of them good. But I really haven't been out too much. What I have been doing is, stoking the social media fire, and I don't mean that in a negative way. I find it fascinating that the posts that get the most attention on my page, different categories. Whenever I post a kid sitting over a deer or holding a fish or a rabbit or whatever with a big smile, that gets a lot of response, as it should, positive response. We want to encourage these kids. We want to show them that we support them. By the way, if you have kids who hunt or fish and you have pictures you want to share, post them on my Facebook page or send them to me in an email, mike@mikeaveryoutdoors.com, and use the hashtag #ForwardFuelsTradition. That's #ForwardFuelsTradition. Every month we will draw a winner from those posts, and you'll get a $50 gift card to the Forward convenience stores. You can use it, actually your child is winning it, but since they can't, the family's winning it. You can use it for gas at the gas stations. You can use it for snacks or Michigan brand jerky. Mike Avery Hunter Sticks at the Forward stores. Forward Fuels Tradition. The other posts that get a lot of reaction are those that involve top-tier predators. Wolves, cougars. I find it interesting that there is a perception. How do I word this? Let me just say, I get pictures from people on a regular basis who say, look at the wolves I got on my trail camera. And look at the wolves I got on my trail camera in northern Michigan, in central Michigan. And I look at those pictures and I go right away, that's not a wolf, that's a coyote. There are not, in my opinion, there are not wolves in a large population in the in the lower peninsula. Are there a few that are out there? Maybe, possibly. There was one documented a few years ago by the tribal biologists. But are they in every woodlot like some people think? Absolutely not. If we had packs of wolves roaming lower Michigan, you'd know it. Talk to the people in the UP who do have packs of wolves roaming in certain areas. You know it. Also the other day, I got some very cool video of a cougar on a trail camera up in the western UP. And the cougar was carrying a deer in its mouth. And you can bet that generated a lot of conversation as well. Personally, I think it's cool that we have some top-tier predators. Do we have too many wolves? Absolutely. There are a lot of things going on behind the scenes here in Michigan regarding wolves, regarding the wolf count, regarding the wolf population, if any, in the northern lower. And this is something that I continue to try to learn more about. I've seen some interesting reports the last few days that make me question what I thought I knew. I'm also interested in the concept, and I hate to bring it up, and I'm going to go more in depth on this in the second hour, the end at the second hour in this week's Ask Avery segment, about the concept of coy wolves. When people post a picture of a big coyote, oftentimes they say, look at this wolf, or this has got to be a coy wolf. Let me just say for now that, and again, I've seen some research the past few days that has me second-guessing my opinion. Let me just say, let's be very careful at this point about using the term coy wolf. And the reason is, if the term coy wolf becomes generally accepted, and that is a term that makes people think, okay, there is wolf DNA in coyotes, the next thing that'll happen, in my opinion, is we will lose all coyote hunting, because the anti-wackos will jump on this and go, well, listen, if there's wolf DNA in those things, we certainly cannot be hunting them, and we'll lose our coyote hunting. We need to have coyote hunting in this state to keep that coyote population under control, for the same reason we need a wolf hunt in the UP to knock down that population, and in my opinion, just as important, to put the fear of man into those top-tier predators. If you go to Ontario, which has a very strong wolf population, and you hunt them, as I have, you learn right away that they have a healthy fear of man. They may be at the top of the food chain up there as far as four-legged critters, but they're afraid of man, and they should be. So if they see you, hear you, smell you, think you're there, think you might have been there, think you may come there to the spot, They're not coming in. They're going to turn around and slink off into the woods. That's not the case in Michigan. The wolves in the UP, because they have not been hunted, don't seem to have this fear of man, this healthy fear of man. And that's one reason why I think it makes them a little more potentially dangerous, certainly concerning. So, yeah, we need to have a wolf hunt. The Ultimate Fishing Show in Detroit is going on this weekend. It always happens at the Ultimate Fishing Show. There's a snowstorm, always. Tickets for the Trinity Monitor Wild Game Dinner will go on sale here very, very soon. Details on that coming up. Don't forget my website, MikeAveryOutdoors.com, MikeAveryOutdoors.com. My email address is mike@MikeAveryOutdoors.com. And I hope you can join me for the Wednesday Night Live segments. Coming up on this week's Outdoor Magazine show, after the break, this is big news. Ed Blissick of the Great Lakes Salmon Initiative talking about a plan to get rid of this goofy 3-rod limit for Great Lakes trolling anglers. It's going to happen, my friends. Mark Torregrossa talking about the weather and the forecast for the rest of the winter. Mr. Angler Quest, Brad Dupuie, with a very, very big announcement. This week's Ask Avery segment, more on coy wolves. In our third hour, Tom Lounsbury on rabbit hunting, wintertime hunting, and more. And, of course, we'll wrap it all up with wild game chef extraordinaire Dixie Dave Minar. I think this is going to be a very, very interesting show. I'm excited to do it, and I'm so glad that you're along with us. You can hear the Outdoor Magazine show. You can hear the show in Alpena on WZTK. That's 105.7 FM. You can hear us in Tawas, WIOS, 1480 AM, 106.9 FM. And you can hear us north of the bridge in Iron Mountain, WMIQ, 1450 AM. This segment of Outdoor Magazine is brought to you by the Linwood Beach Marina and Campground. Linwood Beach can be your year-round Saginaw Bay fishing destination. As I said in the earlier segment, I just talked to Jason Graham, Captain Jason Graham. And he said, as of right now, midweek, as we are recording this show, the ramps, the boat launches, are open. He said the channel to the bay is open. But as you know, we've got pretty cold temps coming in, probably going to lock things up. So the question is the open water fishing season done now? Is it ice fishing season? I think it's best right now, to call ahead, check ahead. Is it going to be ice? Is it going to be open water? Anyway, I love Linwood Beach. I spend a lot of time at Linwood Beach in the summer with my Angler Quest. They are walleye central. Check them out online at linwoodbeachmarina.com. That's linwoodbeachmarina.com. Okay, as you know, I do spend a lot of time out on Saginaw Bay in the summertime on my Angler Quest. And for the last couple of years, I've been raising the question about why is there a limit on the number of rods that a Great Lakes trolling angler can use. It's never made any sense to me. The resource is protected, no matter how many rods you run, right? You've got a size limit. For example, Saginaw Bay, it's 13 inches. And you've got a daily creel limit, 8 fish. So it doesn't matter if you catch those fish running 3 rods in 2 hours or if you run 6 rods and catch them in an hour. It's not going to have an impact on the resource. All it does is penalize some of the smaller boat anglers. And I've never liked this idea. Some other folks in the fishing world have questioned this as well, including the folks over at the Great Lakes Salmon Initiative. Their website is glsalmon.org, glsalmon.org. Ed Blissick is with that organization, wants to talk more about this rod restriction and maybe some things coming down the line. Ed, good morning. How are you? Welcome to the show.
Hey, real good, Mike. It's great to talk with you.
Hey, the pleasure is mine. So you're the president at Great Lakes Salmon Initiative?
That is correct.
Oh, you drew the short straw. It means you're the guy who does all the work.
Yeah, but I'm very fortunate to have a great board of directors, and they all pitch in and help.
Well,
I know you've talked to Tom Andrus before.
I've talked to Tom several
he works
times.
his tail off with our organization as well.
Ed, are we going to be able? Is something going to happen here with these rod restrictions for trolling anglers?
I really hope so. It seems like we've got a lot of positive momentum going on that right now. So as you know, we talked about this, I think, about 3 years ago. And at that time, the Coalition to Protect Michigan Resources, who was working on the consent decree, and as part of those negotiations, we really felt that it would have a negative impact on trying to finalize a consent decree, and asked us to hold off on this. So we did. You know, we're a big supporter of that group, and I don't want to get off on a tangent on the consent decree. It ultimately didn't go so well. But now that the negotiations are done, we thought it was the right time to move forward with this proposal. And so what we did is we actually introduced it at the Citizens Advisory meetings in October for Lake Huron and Lake Michigan. And we asked the various angling groups to take it back to their organizations and give us some feedback on it. And we've been kind of working that process behind the scenes because we really felt the best way for this to be successful was to have the vast majority of anglers get behind it. We didn't think us alone, as our being the only organization doing this, would have the impact as having a long list of fishing groups behind us with it. And that seems to be taking place right now. We've got a ton of groups that are talking about it right now. We've had good phone calls with them, and a number of organizations have given us their formal support. Right now, we've got the Michigan Charter Boat Association, Detroit Steelheaders, Ludington Charter Boat Association, Hammond Bay Area Anglers Association, Northwest Michigan Fishing Club, Aeronaut County Walleye Club, Eastern Michigan Sportsmen, and the Bay de Knot Great Lakes Sports Fishermen have given us their formal support.
Wow.
But a number of groups on the phone have said, yeah, we're all for it. We're going to take it back to our board, and we'll talk it over and kick it around and get back to you. And so we've had some other good conversations from other organizations, and we're hoping that we'll get their formal support in the next few weeks.
Your proposal, your plan, if I remember right, calls for basically a boat limit license. What is it? Remind me.
Well, it's actually a license per angler. So an angler could purchase this license. We're proposing $26 right now. And if they buy that license, that angler could run up to 3 additional rods. So a solo angler could run up to 6 rods. 2 anglers could run up to, they would be able to run up to 12. But the reality is, in many cases, it's not always feasible to run that many. And a lot of people have told us that, heck, I'd buy it if I could just run 1 or 2 extra rods. So it's going to depend on the boat, the angler, the captain, of what they want to do in their boat. But just like you said in the introduction, we don't feel that with the creel limit that the number of rods really should make a difference.
No. And you talk to you talk to some game wardens and such too. They say, I don't want to be checking this type of thing. However, a couple of questions, Ed. So on my boat, then I could buy this license for myself that would allow me to run 3 more rods. But then, is there anything I can buy for my boat that allows the boat to run more rods, or does it have to be on every angler?
It would have to be on the angler right now. And this is the other thing, too. We have this proposal that's out there, and we're talking to groups, and we're open to changes to make it work. So if a vast majority of angling folks, organizations felt it ought to be a boat license, we'd be interested in pivoting to come up with a solution that works for the majority of anglers.
Has
DNR right now we're looking at per angler.
Has DNR law enforcement checked in on this? Because I can see that this might be a hassle.
We had a great conversation with them at the Lake Michigan's Advisory Committee, and they were not very concerned about it. I mean, the reality is the first thing they do when they check an angler is to ask for their license.
Yeah.
And if they see a boat with 3 guys in it running 9 rods, well, if one of those guys doesn't have a license, they're in violation. They still have to stop and ask for their license to confirm they cover the 9 rods they're running. So if they see 2 guys in a boat with running 10 rods, they're going to stop and check and ask for their licenses. And if they have this license and they're properly licensed, they could run those rods. So they have to make contact to really investigate any issue. And they've told us they're not overly concerned. They think they could manage it.
Good. Well, and kind of along that line, I took Randy Claremont, the DNR fisheries chief, out on Saginaw Bay last summer. We had a great day, great conversation. I think he's a great guy. And I brought up this concept, and he said, Mike, from a department perspective, there is no biological reason not to do this. He was concerned about the perception to the angling population in general, which I think is kind of what you just addressed, Ed.
Yeah, and we spoke to him just recently on it, and he's very open to the proposal, especially that we're taking the work on to, demonstrate that support. I don't think the DNR wants to get into real controversial issues. If it's a 50-50 split for anglers for and against this, I don't think it's going to go forward. But if we see 75-80% of anglers really like this idea, it has a great chance to go forward, and he's very open to it. And we're doing the legwork to try to rally that support.
The concerns I've heard in the past from listeners as I've talked about this concept, they said, Avery, that's fine. You're out there on Saginaw Bay, you're out there on the Angler Quest, you got plenty of room, yada, yada, yada. But what about me, the poor ice fisherman or the pier fisherman? I don't want somebody to come in and take over that spot. But there are restrictions on this. It would not be for shore anglers or ice anglers or such, would it, Ed?
That's correct. Right now it isn't. And a big reason for that is to prevent overcrowding and reduce participation. We hate to see a pier get filled up with 20 guys because they're all running 6 rods where it could have held 40 guys.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
And we're all about participation and giving people an opportunity. And the reality is on the Great Lakes, they're huge bodies of water. They got healthy fish populations. People are spread out generally. Yeah, sometimes you get at harbor mouths and places like that in the fall runs. It gets a little congested. But generally, boats are spread out and not going to have too much of an impact or cause a conflict between each other out there.
So you mentioned $26. Is this an additional $26 for this license?
Yes, it would. And part of the proposal is that we're trying to stipulate that this money goes directly back into the Great Lakes fishery. One of the number one needs we feel right now is cormorant control. Randy and the DNR, Randy Claremont, they actually went to the federal government and got permits to execute a significant amount of cormorant control in 2023. But unfortunately, the federal guidelines and permitting requires they have to be very well trained and certified shooters. So they can't just say, general public, we need volunteers to go take out some cormorants. They have to hire skilled, trained people to do it. And the DNR just did not have it in their budget.
Yeah.
So they had some cormorant control under federal dollars, but they were unable to execute the amount of control the DNR felt was appropriate. And we think that's a shame because cormorants have a negative impact on inland waters, Great Lake waters. There's a long track record of history in the Shanoa Islands where they've studied the cormorant populations and the perch populations, and it's like a 20, 30, 40-year study. And every time the cormorant populations goes up, the perch population crashes. In years past, when they've executed cormorant control and thinned them out, the perch population came right back up. And they not only kill perch, they kill small walleyes. I know the Aeronaut County Walleye Club is very concerned on the cormorant colonies out on the Charity Islands. They think they're doing damage to the perch populations and small walleyes in the Bay Area. And smolts, freshly planted smolts. You look at cormorants or inshore around the harbors on their spring migration when we were planting fish, and when they get on a school of smolts, recently planted smolts, they can devastate them.
Yeah.
So we think earmarking for cormorant control, but we're also open. Some of the groups have suggested it should be used for consent degree enforcement or maybe even expanding hatchery capacity. There's been a lot of debate about the steelhead and steelhead limits. Well, one of the best things is there's popular fish. Be great to plant a few more steelhead, but there's no hatchery capacity for it. So we'd like to see the money raised going back to have a direct benefit to anglers. And that's what we're pushing for with the proposal.
Hang tight, Ed. We got to take a break here in the Outdoor Magazine Show. We're talking with Ed Blissick. He's the president of the Great Lakes Salmon Initiative, glsalmon.org, glsalmon.org. After the break, I want to talk more about this rod restriction. I don't want to say elimination because it's not, but this plan and what the Great Lakes Salmon Initiative is all about as well. And then after that, we'll wrap up this opening hour of the show with Michigan's meteorologist, Mark Torregrossa. Will there be more winter, or is this the extent of it? We'll find out right here on Outdoor Magazine. You can hear the Outdoor Magazine show in Battle Creek on WBCK 95.3 FM. You can hear us in Flint on Sports Extra 1330 WTRX and north of the bridge in Marquette, WDMJ 1320. This segment of Outdoor Magazine is brought to you by Premier Maritime Training. If you've ever wanted to get your captain's license, I think this is a great option. Captain John Littlefield taught my captain's class. He helped me become a licensed captain, and he can help you as well. Check out the website, pmtcaptains.com. That's pmtcaptains.com for more info. John has classes across the state. I'm sure you can find one that fits your schedule. Look at this is something you've been dreaming about for a long time, right? You want to be a charter captain. John Littlefield and PMT Captains can help you out. pmtcaptains.com. The Michigan Charter Boat Association is one of the groups that has come out in support of this concept that's floating around right now, which would allow Great Lakes trolling anglers for the purchase of an additional license. At this point, we're looking at $26. That would allow you to run 3 additional rods for your Great Lakes trolling adventures. I am strongly in support of this. I've been pushing this for a long time. The main group behind this is the Great Lakes Salmon Initiative, glsalmon.org, glsalmon.org. Ed Blissick is the president of that group with us now on the phone line. So, Ed, what happens now? Is this what is the process? How can people get involved? And when might we see this become a reality?
Yes, so we're still trying to get some formal support. We'd like to make our list a little bit longer, and we're in touch with a number of groups. So if you're an individual with a fishing club or an organization, go to your board and ask them to support us on this. You can go to our website for information or our Facebook page. You can reach out to us, private message us. I can give you some written documentation to share with your local boards and ask them to acknowledge and support this proposal. The next step is this proposal has to go through the state legislature, and we're hoping to go to the legislature in cooperation with the DNR because they do seem to support this, or at least the general concept. And so we're working with the DNR, and we will be launching a campaign to actually execute the license. We hope in the next 2 to 4 weeks. I don't think it's going to be a feasible thing to get this in place by the 2024 license season, which goes into effect on April 1st.
Yeah.
But we're pushing it, and going through the political process isn't always very fast. So I would love to have it in place for this year, but more realistically, we're probably working to get this in place for the 2025 fishing season.
Why the legislature? Why not the NRC?
Because it's a new license. So just the way the laws are written in the state, the legislature has to approve a new fishing license like this. So when they do want to make a change, it has to go through the legislature. The NRC manages the rules and regulations, but actually executing a license has to go through the legislature.
Okay, now knowing this now, that it goes to the legislature, that's your proposal in my mind is looking even better, because if the politicians see they can make an additional $26 off an angler, I would think they might be more inclined to go along with this.
Well, that was part of the reason for that fee. I mean, we like you, Mike, feel you should be able to run as many rods as you can, and there shouldn't be a charge for it. But we felt this was probably the best way to get it over the finish line.
I also agree with you, Ed, that it's going to be a self-limiting law in some ways, because if a guy's out there with a 16-foot boat, he's not going to be able to run. You can't run 12 rods if it's just him and his buddy. So it's going to be the size of your boat, the level of your experience, the weather conditions. There are going to be a lot of factors involved in this. That's
for sure, and guys might push the limit. If they overdo it, they're probably going to pay for it at the tackle shop when they have a bunch of gear tackled up and got to replace some cores or coppers or divers that get tangled up. So there is a angling skill, there's a boat size issue, there is a limiting factor with it,
Ed, I really appreciate the fact that you guys have gotten behind this. Any way I can help out, please let me know. I'm a big supporter of this. Before we let you go, you have a couple of minutes left. Tell me about your group, the Great Lakes Salmon Initiative. What are you all about?
Okay, well, we formed in 2016, and at that time, the forage base in the Great Lakes, especially in Lake Michigan, was on a downward trend, and a lot of groups felt that we needed to eliminate all king stocking. There was various proposals on it, and we just were opposed to that. We feel king salmon are the driver of the salmon and trout fishery. It's what anglers will go to, spend money. You know, if there's a port that has a hot fishery, anglers flock to it. And it really has a big economic benefit for the port community, tackle shops, gas stations, and motels. And so we really felt king salmon has to be a part of our Great Lakes fishery. And we were formed to say, look, we believe cuts are needed, but they should be balanced cuts across all species, and we need to have some kings as part of the fishery. And that's what happened in 2016, and history's really proved us right. The fishery's really bounced back. You know, thank God we didn't eliminate all king stocking in, 2016 to 18 time period. Our fishery would be terrible now. But we kept kings. The bait fish has rebounded, and we're increasing stocking in the next year, last year, and this year again. So things are looking very bright out there. And since that time, we just focused as a group. Our organization wants to educate anglers on the science. We attend all the science meetings, and we try to break it down for our members. We try to support citizen science. We've had programs to have tagged head rewards and collecting stomach contents of salmon and trout for research. And we've supported groups like the Benefit for Kids that raise money to take kids on outdoor adventures. One of our board members is big with that organization.
And listen, I don't mean to be rude, cut you off, but I am out of time. Good luck on this project.
Okay.
If I can help you out, if I can help you out, please let me know, because I'm a big supporter of this. The website, glsalmon.org. That's glsalmon.org. We'll take a break. When we come back, we'll wrap up this opening hour with Michigan's meteorologist, Mark Torregrossa. You can hear the Outdoor Magazine Show in Traverse City on WTCM 580 AM. You can hear us in Sandusky on WMIC 660 AM, 95.3 FM. And you can hear us north of the bridge in the Sioux on News Talk 1400 WKNW. This segment of Outdoor Magazine brought to you by Versa Skins. Just change your skin for the season you're in. Why buy different sets of hunting clothes when you can buy one good quality set that's warm, waterproof, windproof, and when it comes time to change the camo pattern, you just snap on and zip on an outer shell. It takes literally less than 2 minutes. And if you're looking for big sizes, 4, 5, 6X, Versa Skins can help you out there as well. Michigan-based company, family-owned. I love that. The website, versaskins.com. That's versaskins.com. Okay, I had a conversation with Michigan's meteorologist, Mark Torregrossa, last fall. And I said, Mark, what does it look like for the winter? And he said, I think if we can get through November and December, that the rest of the winter doesn't look too bad. Well, now I don't know. And I will tell you this. Mark said, look, I'm very, very busy right now. I don't have time to talk to you, Avery. And I said, okay, Mark, here's the deal. If you give me a 6-minute radio conversation, I will give you a walleye fishing trip on Saginaw Bay. That's how far I had to go, my friends, to bring you the latest information here in the Outdoor Magazine Show. Mark, welcome back. Hey, buddy, how you doing?
I am doing well. Weather right now is, for a meteorologist, I'll be honest, weather is exciting. That's why I got interested in it when I was in the 4th grade. And, I've been offered a job in Phoenix, Arizona, and it had quite a few numbers in the paycheck. And I said, no, thanks.
Because?
What kind of weather did they get down there? What would I do? I don't think I'd be good at going on and saying, hey, here's the latest dog that you should adopt and things like that. I'm good at tracking storms. Point is, we're in an active storm track right now. We have El Nino, okay, very strong, and the weather pattern in December right out of the El Nino playbook. I told you, don't winterize your boat in December. We had the second warmest December all across the state on records back to the mid 1880s. Okay. Mm-hmm. So it was a bizarre one. And I also told you that just because we're talking a warm, dry winter, December, January, February, doesn't mean we will not have periods of winter in there. And it appears as though this period of winter coming up the next couple weeks is going to be, it's going to be a normal, vigorous Michigan winter
vigorous.
type cold. I can't say if it's good or bad, because half of your listeners right now love cold and snow and want ice and all that. And the other half say, I can skip that.
So as we are recording midweek, by the time folks hear this show, we're talking about maybe some snow, maybe even a full-blown blizzard this weekend. Let's look beyond that, though. As I look into next week, it's going to be cold.
It's going to be cold, yes. High temperatures in the teens for probably, Monday through Friday or Saturday. And low temperatures 0 if you clear and the wind dies, maybe a few degrees below 0. So that will start to build your ice. We still have the two big kahunas in the weather party, and that is El Nino and global warming. So El Nino still continues to bring us milder than warmer than normal conditions through the winter. So I don't think this cold blast is something that settles in and lasts through February. I am tempted to tell you, and again, I hope you understand that the reason why you are taking me on a walleye trip is I give you and all of your listeners insider, a little bit out on the limb information. I think we may call this a 2 or 3 week winter.
Whoa. Okay, now you just got my attention.
Okay.
Not that you didn't have it before, but and I'll let you. Here's a little secret from my perspective. I would take you on a walleye fishing trip, even if you didn't agree to do this conversation. So there you go.
Oh, okay. Yes, thank you, and I appreciate it. I did go on one, and man, what a treat to go with someone that knows what they're doing. But where I'm going with this is, it looks like to me like we will have highs in the teens and 20s through maybe January 25th-ish. Don't pin me down on the exact day. It looks like the cold erodes after that, and we might start to go back to days that make it above freezing, 32, 35. Not to say that we start spring February 1st, but what I'm saying is if we have a harsh period of winter, it might be the next couple of weeks, and then it might slack off. And we'll still have a snowstorm or two, through February or March, and it'll still be chilly, but it may not be below average temperature. And when you look at the statistics for climatology, our average high temperature starts going up February 5th.
I know, and the days are getting longer. We're moving in the right direction. Mark, always a pleasure. Appreciate your insight. I'll look forward to that walleye fishing trip. The website, mlive.com, and Mark's personal, not his personal, but his own business website is farmerweather.com. That's farmerweather.com. We'll take a break for the top of the hour. When we come back, Mr. Angler Quest himself with a big announcement in hour 2 of this week's Outdoor Magazine.
Time now for Michigan's #1 outdoor radio show, Mike Avery's Outdoor Magazine. Mike Avery has covered the outdoors in Michigan for more than 4 decades, and that tradition continues today. Outdoor Magazine is brought to you by Jay's Sporting Goods, the Eider Insurance Group, Angler Quest Pontoons, the Forward Corporation, Primal Outdoors, Security Credit Union, Offshore Tackle, Garber Chevrolet, Rapid River Knife Works, and by Michigan Brand Meats. Now, here's Mike Avery.
Well, thank you, Ken Hunter, for that introduction, and welcome to hour number 2 of this week's Outdoor Magazine radio show here on the Outdoor Magazine Radio Network on more than 30 radio stations across the great state of Michigan. Yes, this is a radio show. First and foremost, It is a radio show. It is recorded. It is distributed. It is produced. It is syndicated. It is uploaded. It is downloaded as a radio show. And I do think the best way to listen to this radio show, if you can, is on your local affiliate, your local AM or FM station. If you can't, if your local station doesn't carry all 3 hours of the show, or if you live in some part of our state not covered by the broadcast signal, you can hear the podcast version of the show. Podcasting is huge these days. Podcasting is probably the hottest buzzword in communication today. So I do a podcast version of the Outdoor Magazine radio show that you can hear if you can't hear the radio show. You can hear that on my website, MikeAveryOutdoors.com. It's on my Facebook page. It's on Amazon Music, Audible, Twitter, now called X, LinkedIn, Apple Music, Google Play, iHeartRadio, SoundCloud, yada, yada. You know the whole routine. Anywhere you can hear a podcast, you can hear the podcast version of the Outdoor Magazine radio show, including YouTube. Now, it's not a video version, but it's an audio version of the podcast. You can hear it there. I do like podcasting, though. I think it's a great way to reach people. And each month, I do podcasts for some of my advertising partners, including Offshore Tackle, Primal Outdoors, and Angler Quest Boats. In fact, when we're done here in the studio, we will record this month's Angler Quest podcast, and it will feature Mr. Angler Quest himself, Brad Dupuie. Now, I've been so blessed that in my career, I've been able to form partnerships with some very, very good people, some very, very good companies. I love to concentrate on Michigan-based family-owned companies. And when I can take that business relationship to the next level and become friends with the people I'm working with, that is something very, very special. I'm thinking now of Angler Quest Boats. I first discovered Angler Quest years ago now when I saw a boat, a pontoon, sitting on the grass at an outdoor show. And I looked at that thing and said, man, there's some possibilities here. You could fish on this thing. And I thought, no. You can't take a pontoon out on big water. It'll never work. But the more I investigated this, the more I started to work with the Angler Quest company, the more time I spent on the Angler Quest, I said, this thing is the real deal. And I've been a huge fan of the Angler Quest concept ever since. Brad Dupuie is the guy I call Mr. Angler Quest. Now, he's had a lot of help along the way. He'll be the first to admit that. But in my mind, it was Brad who took this concept of a big, beautiful, comfortable pontoon and turned it into a fishing machine. There have been some interesting developments at Angler Quest the past few months. And I thought it would be really cool to get Brad here on the show to talk about what's next, because there's some pretty big stuff going on at Angler Quest. Brad, Mr. Angler Quest, welcome back. How are you?
We're doing great, Mike. I always look forward to talking to you. We're doing excellent. We got a snowy winter day today, and we're ready to talk Angler Quest.
Yeah, and the forecast calls for snow, maybe a blizzard this weekend. I just got off the phone with Torregrossa. He said it's going to be bitterly cold all next week. So since you and I aren't really ice fishermen, it is a great time to talk about Angler Quest, especially when you factor in that something big is in the works.
That's right. There is very exciting things happening, and, we're talking Angler Quest. It's show season. It is that time of year to talk boats anyway. So, hey, why not do it now in a platform and communication with yourself and a friend of mine, and really exciting stuff for sure.
All right, so let's talk more about it. Let's quit dancing around this thing. Angler Quest has been under the umbrella of Apex Marine, a great family-owned Michigan-based company. It's your intent to change that.
Yeah. Apex Marine is a great company, and we really did some really cool things, and they're still doing some very cool things. I myself am splitting away from Apex Marine, and we're going to have formed an entity, and we are going to create exclusively Angler Quest pontoons. It is a product that is so loved by many, myself, and I want to see this product get into people's hands and watch people enjoy them like you and I have, Mike, and it's super exciting. At Apex Marine, they are focusing specifically on pleasure boats, 8.5 foot wide, and have a great product. They truly do. And when you mix in boats of that nature with hardcore fishing boats, there's a lot of extra added complexity to the boat, and it can hurt that production process. So my intent is we're going to build these. We're going to build them exclusively hardcore fishing pontoons. Super excited about it. It's really, really awesome to get back in the groove, and I'm super, super excited about it, Mike.
So am I. Angler Quest going back to its roots, but now directly and exclusively under the direction of Mr. Angler Quest himself, Brad Dupuie.
Yeah, that's right. And, we're going to change the name slightly from Angler Quest Pontoons, the Quest of the W. It'll be with a U, to kind of differentiate the new ownership, the new direction that, I'm taking with Angler Quest under my umbrella. I look forward to having people helping me that are specifically dedicated to Angler Quest and to the fishing concept. And it's really exciting to be able to control it. It's really exciting to be able to make sure the boat has exactly the bells and whistles that I desire. And I look forward to it. There's been a ton of support along the way. People very excited. I've got some people helping me out that are very passionate about Angler Quest as myself. And I think it's going to be a great deal. Super excited about it. I'll be down this Saturday all weekend. I'll be down at the Ultimate Fishing Show, and I still support Apex Marine and everything they do there. In fact, I'll be down in the Freeway booth talking Angler Quest. He's going to have 10 of them down there. The boat is going to be really showing off nicely, and it'll be a great chance to talk to people about the changes and talk Angler Quest, and it'll be a great kickoff to the new year, Mike.
I actually really like the concept of changing it from Angler Quest QWEST to Angler Quest QUEST for a couple of reasons. You still pronounce it the same, so it's still very, very clear that this is an Angler Quest. But when you change the spelling slightly, it denotes something more. It has a connotation of this new direction. A new direction. I like that.
Yeah, and I think it's good to have a little separation with Quest with the W, so we don't cause confusion.
Yeah.
There's not confusion with the retail, the dealer. So I think it's a nice little change, and like I said, I'm super excited about it. And man, it's going to be Angler Quest all day long. Is what it's going to be.
Oh, yeah. Well, first of all, congrats. I know this is a big move. This is a huge move. I also am very excited about this, Brad, because you know that I've been a fan of the platform, a supporter of the concept ever since I got out in the water the first time.
Yeah, you've been a huge supporter, and there's a lot of people that are in your realm that really, really support the product. And, Apex Marine took and they eliminated some of the harder core stuff to simplify the production on their end, which I totally get. And boy, I'll tell you, when you're at the Angler Quest Owners Tournament and you see all those people there that are enjoying the boat, having fun on the boat, and, it's just something that drives me to want to be able to offer to the public because it's such an awesome vessel. And to see the people at the tournament, all the fun that they have, there's no way I can let that go. And I want to be able to supply the product to people and watch people grow, families grow with the boat and enjoy the product as you and I have, Mike.
Boy, I have a lot of questions, a lot of things, a lot of balls in the air for you right now. And you know what? I should have asked before we got on the air too. Is there going to be a new Angler Quest website out there? Do you know what it's going to be yet, or is it just too soon for that?
Yeah, there is a domain established for it. We don't have any content up there, but it'll be Angler Quest Pontoons with a U. And that'll be the domain. And we're going to start driving towards that. And it's going to be a challenge. It's going to be a lot of work, but it's also going to be great work. When you're working on something that you truly enjoy and everybody enjoys and people enjoy, it drives you to have a good time, and it's not even like work. So it's going to be a heck of a challenge, but it's also going to be very rewarding in the same regard.
Hang tight, Brad. We got to take a break here in the Outdoor Magazine Show. We're talking with Mr. Angler Quest himself, Brad Dupuie, talking about a change in direction. Angler Quest is going back to its roots as a fishing machine that can also be a great family rig. The new website will be Angler Quest Pontoons, Quest, Angler Quest Pontoons. Not out there quite yet, but keep an eye out for that. I will let you know when that website is up and running. More with Mr. Angler Quest after the break right here on Outdoor Magazine. You can hear the Outdoor Magazine Show in Carroll on WKYO 1360 AM and WIDL 92.1 FM. You can hear us in Lansing on WILS 1320 AM, and you can hear us north of the bridge in Escanaba on WCHT 600 AM 93.5 FM. This segment of Outdoor Magazine brought to you by this company right here. You know that sound. That's the sound of my Rapid River knife opening. I just pulled it out of my pocket. I love Rapid River knives. Family-owned, Michigan-based. You know I love that. These things that I'm holding in my hand, you can't see it. A handmade piece of art built by craftsmen in Michigan's Upper Peninsula. But these things are designed to last. I mean, to pass down for generations. They have a lifetime guarantee. They will sharpen these knives. They will resharpen these knives anytime you want. You can get them engraved. And if you, be honest, you wanted one for Christmas. If you didn't get one, now is the time to go to the website or stop by the store. Go to the store on US 2 just east of Rapid River and check it out. If you can't make it up there, go to the website rapidriverknifeworks.us, rapidriverknifeworks.us. Pick out a knife. Pick out the name you want engraved on it, and they'll ship it to your house right away. How cool is that? RapidRiverKnifeWorks.us. I know that Mr. Angler Quest, Brad Dupuie, has a Rapid River knife.
That is an excellent knife, by the way. Like you said, very well crafted. It's a filleting machine, for sure.
Well, whenever I see you filleting fish, it's with one of those electric things, and you just zip right through them real fast. But it's nice for panfish, I would think, that fillet knife is.
Well, I like to kind of clean up the rib cage and things like that with a manual knife, and that is what I utilize that knife that I got from you. And it is truly a very, very nice knife. Well,
it's a great company, great Michigan company. Angler Quest is as well. I was thinking, Brad, during the break there, I heard an Angler Quest commercial. I'm thinking, I got to change that because that commercial was designed, that spot was designed when Angler Quest was going a different direction, when they were going less hardcore, more family. I'm going to have to tweak that spot again because I feel like now you're going more hardcore. Family is still involved. It'll always be a family boat, but you're going back to your fishing roots.
Yes, indeed. Pro trolls, family fishes, the base stuff that really, really got Angler Quest going. What'll be really nice about being my own entity, a smaller operation, it offers some flexibility too, to be able to tweak things and do things for customers as they want. And I really, really look forward to it. And, there was a lot of people who really hated to see the Pro Troll go and that design. And boy, that is the vessel for Angler Quest, the flagship, and it is going to remain that way and be that way because that is truly the flagship of that product line.
Big question. I guess the question that everybody has, and I'm sure you're thinking about it too, is when will we see new Angler Quest boats out there? Will there be a 2024 version, or are we looking at 25 at this point?
25 will be more the rollout of it, the whole product line, and be able to have the website ready and all the fine details of brochures and things like that. I really, really would like to start generating some boats in the second quarter here. There's, like I said, a lot of work to be done, a lot of things to coordinate, a lot of things to get happening, but it's not insurmountable. It can be done. It'll be at a low volume to get rolling. And, my intent is to start generating some cash and get some boats here in the latter part within the second quarter and get the ball rolling.
You said you want to bring back or keep what we call the rocket launcher, the radar arch, which in my mind, that is the signature of an angler quest. Yeah, you've got to keep that. You've got to keep that. What about, what do you want to change? When you look at this very successful line of boats, are there some things you want to tweak? And I guess I'm thinking tubes, because there have been some concerns with tubes at certain points in the production cycle over the years. Any changes there, Brad?
Yeah, there'll absolutely be a different tube design. I've got a really, really awesome design that's going to be an improvement, and I think it'll be a good thing to roll out. That big water is really, really tough on tubes, and I want to tweak that. I just want to make sure all the fine details of tubes, the design, everything about the boat is exactly what I'm looking for. Like I said, it's hard to have switch gears on a production line to a product that has all the bells and whistles and, a little more complexity as it does offer. So, with it being under myself, I can solely concentrate on all those fine details. And, I want to make dealers part of the process. I want their feedback. I want to work with them. I want to make sure that we're all on the same page as is the retail customer. And all that feedback is so important. And what makes an angler quest is all the things that are there for a purpose. And I want to make sure all those purposeful items are there and intact and robust in the way they should be, for sure.
You mentioned the dealers. Obviously, they're key. They're critical in this whole thing. Is the dealer network you had at Apex, is that still in place, or do you have to go out and find new dealers? Because when Apex started changing direction, maybe you lost some of those dealers. Is that going to be a challenge, or are you locked in at this point?
There will be an establishment of a dealer network. A lot of them will be the same guys, the same dealers. They sold Angler Quest, and it was a part of their business plan, and they don't want it abandoned, and they want to be able to, sell those boats and help enable their business to succeed. So the guys that were Angler Quest dealers are very excited that the core stuff is coming back, because it is what they sold. It's what benefited their business. And honestly, it's not going to be too difficult. We've got some great ones. Freeway Sports, like I said, which I'm going to be with down in Novi all weekend. Linwood Beach Marina. A lot of these core dealers are very, very excited about it. And, it's really fulfilling what they want, because that is what made them successful and helped them be successful. So I'm excited to be able to offer it to them.
So at this point, you thinking concentrate on the Pro Troll and the family fish for now? Is that where you're going, Brad?
Yeah, for sure. Those two boats are very, very critical. I also want to be able to offer a two-tubed panfish style boat that is more economically friendly, especially in the times that we're in right now. I think value product is very, very important, and it's a little tough out there economically right now. And I want to be able to, of course, offer the Pro Troll family fish, but I think offering a smaller version of a boat that is designed for the inland lakes, that has the core fishing amenities that other boats don't have, I think is a very good move, and there's definitely a market for that. And so that's really where I'm going to start, and try to keep the product line, somewhat limited, not get too proliferated, but keep it focused in a couple directions and churn them out. That's what the goal is.
You mentioned economics from an overall industry perspective. The boating industry right now is pretty soft. So I'm sure you would not have picked this time to start a new boat company if you had a choice. The timing is right for you at Angler Quest, but the industry in general, boats are getting so expensive. I mean, they're kind of soft right now, right?
It is. It is tough out there. I personally believe what we're going through, the industry, I think it's important because I think it'll leverage some of those suppliers to, really get their costs back in line. Boy, over COVID in a couple of years, everything, as you know, on everything, not just boats, cost rose so much. And a lot of it was all supply and demand based. And now, all of a sudden, when manufacturers are able to build and get the componentry, man, they really started churning it out and really, hit the market with a ton of boats because you couldn't build enough for so long. And as a result, there's a lot of inventory out there. And this winter will be a great time to get a good deal on a boat because dealers are very anxious to move boats and get them down the road to get in and then get into new products. So it is tough out there right now, but like I said, in my opinion, I believe it's necessary to get that supply chain cost back in check.
When I see the first production 2025 Angler Quest Pro Troll, will it be obvious to me it's an Angler Quest? Will it look almost identical to the old original Pro Trolls? Or will there be some things on there that I'll go, holy cow, look at that?
I expect it to look very similar, Mike. I think a lot of it is going to be things that you're not going to be able to notice quite as readily. Componentry that's there for that purpose and just fine-tuning the fine details that make sure that need to be there. Will it be identical? Probably not, but it's going to be very, very similar. And I do believe when you see it, you'll say, oh, yeah, that's an Angler.
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely.
Brad, I'm so excited for you. Obviously, I've kind of known this was coming for a while, and I really couldn't say much until this point. But I'm really glad that you're doing this. I'm glad, Brad, that you chose this venue to put the word out officially about this. I appreciate that.
Well, I appreciate your support and everything that you've always done for the product, and I can't think of a better place to start the ball rolling, Mike.
Well, I appreciate that. Again, you will be at the Ultimate Fishing Show in Novi this weekend at the Freeway Sports booth. You are also the subject of an Angler Quest podcast this month. And if people go back to my Wednesday Night Live, from last week, they'll be able to see you on there as well. So we're taking this opportunity. I'm getting your name out there and your face out there as much as I can right now, Brad, because I want this thing to be a huge success.
Well, I appreciate that. And, the Ultimate Fishing Show, it's going to be Apex product that's down there, and I'm down there to support it. Freeway Sports going to have 10 of them in their booth. So,
gotcha.
Be a great venue to talk about the boat, talk about the future, everything coming.
All right, Brad, good luck to you. I will let people know when that new website is up and running, and I'll look forward to talking with you very soon.
Thank you, Mike. I appreciate it.
Brad Dupuie, Mr. Angler Quest himself, with some big, big news. We were concerned, we being those of us in the Angler Quest community, that Angler Quest was kind of going away, maybe losing its direction. Well, Brad said, I'm not going to let that happen. That's my baby. I'm going to make sure it remains a big water fishing machine. He's come up with some new ideas, some improvements to make that boat even better. I can't wait to see what the future has in store for Angler Quest. Coming up after the break, I was going to talk with my friend Bill Piles of Ohio Bow Hunting Outfitters about our hunt in Ohio the third week of October. Bill's under the weather. So I thought, who can I pull in at the last minute to bail me out? Another Angler Quest guy, Lance Valentine, because he's come out with some new products he'll be unveiling at that show this weekend. So we'll have Lance after the break right here on Outdoor Magazine. You can hear the Outdoor Magazine show in Port Huron, WPHM, 1380 AM. You can hear us in Muskegon on WKBZ, 1090 AM, and north of the bridge in Newberry, WNBY, 1450 AM. This segment of Outdoor Magazine brought to you by Killer Food Plots. Look, I know you're not hunting over your Killer Food Plots right now, but you've had a chance to see how your hunting season went. You want to make some changes for next year? I know we do. Killer Food Plots, Michigan-based family-owned Killer Food Plots can help you out. Check out the website, killerfoodplots.com, killerfoodplots.com. Get in touch with Rich Krazan at Killer Food Plots. Start making a plan So as soon as the weather breaks this spring, you can get a jump on it to get the most out of your hunting property. KillerFoodPlots.com. Speaking of hunting, I had planned to have my friend Bill Piles of Ohio Bow Hunting Outfitters on this segment of the show to talk about an outing we have coming up in October the 21st through the 25th. We have moved our hunt back a week to get us closer to the rut. Bill's under the weather, so he will join us in the next week or so. And so I found this out like 5 minutes before we hit the air. And I'm thinking, okay, who can I reach out to? I went ding, 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 ding. Lance Valentine. And I reached out to Lance, and he said, of course I can do it. So Sir Lancelot is with us now on the Outdoor Magazine phone line. How you doing, buddy?
I'm doing good, bud. Getting final setup done here for the Novi show. But, yeah, a little stressful today, but doing really well.
Well, listen, I appreciate you taking a few minutes out to talk with me. You joined me on Wednesday Night Live last week to talk about a new jig that you are unveiling at this show. Tell me more about it.
Yeah, so we went back to the drawing board and restarted kind of took everything we've learned over the last 15, 18 years with our vertical jig that we think obviously is the best vertical jig for fishing current. And we went back to the drawing board and go, okay, we've learned all this. We've tried a couple different designs. What do we know? What can we turn into the ultimate river jig? And that's what we built for vertical jigging. And then we went, okay, casting for walleye has become a really big deal. So how can we take that design that we have for the vertical jig, turn it into a casting jig, a jig that will slide through woods, slide through weeds, not get hung up, slide to the rocks, kind of fish on the rocks, but not get down into the crevices and get hung up. And we, with the forward-facing sonar, this live target stuff, we wanted something that guys could cast 60, 70 feet, and it would still show up on their sonar. So last year, we started the design of the casting jig, and that's ready to go. So we've got a brand new design vertical jig for fishing heavy current vertically, and a brand new casting jig designed for casting. We design it for walleye, but obviously you can use it for bass fishing or pike fishing, anything where you're casting plastics. So we've got two brand new jigs to unveil this week down here at the Novi show.
All right, so we can see them at this show. We can see them at future show span shows across the next couple of weeks, next few weeks. And I suspect they're probably on the website by now too, aren't they, Lance?
They will be on the website probably end of the week. We're a little short on what we wanted for full quantities. They're still making some for us. So we didn't want to get them on the website until we knew what was going to happen here at Novi. So
sure.
Probably see them on the website the next 7-10 days.
Well, keep an eye on that website, teachinfishing.com, teachinfishing.com. Lance, also, I want to get your thoughts here. In the previous two segments here, I had Mr. Angler Quest himself, Brad Dupuie, on the show to announce that he's taking the Angler Quest boat, the concept, away from Apex Marine, the previous parent company. He has formed his own company, and Brad Dupuie now is going to make Angler Quest under his own company. Your thoughts on that?
If I could do a cartwheel, I would do a cartwheel. It looked like a fat guy having a seizure, but I am pretty excited about that. I am so excited that Brad is. You look at the community he's built. You look at the following he's built. You look at the people that use the boats. There is no yes or no with Angler Quest. It's either or I'm all in, and I'm so excited that he, number one, has this opportunity. Number two, that this concept of this fantastic fishing boat for all kinds of fishing, especially if you have a family, is not going away. So yeah, I couldn't be more excited and more happy for Brad. And looking forward to some great things coming up here pretty quick.
Yeah, I am as well. Listen, also in the show, we had meteorologist Mark Torregrossa on. He said, we're going to have a couple of real rough weeks of winter here. It looks like ice fishing is going to be coming on here in full force, but you're not much of an ice fisherman, are you?
I grew up a hockey player, so we were always playing hockey on the weekends, so we didn't have time to ice fish. And when I got into the fishing world, this is show season. So there really isn't much time to do ice fishing. We're getting ready for April. We start guiding the first part of April, so we've got 3 months of show season and getting ready. And we used to do a lot of seminars. Before COVID hit, we were on the road 5-6 days a week, every week during the winter, doing seminars across the state. So it's never been something I've really ever gotten into. And honestly, I don't know that I miss it. I don't know that I would ever be a really good ice. Look at sitting still is not one of my virtues. That's one of the things I cannot do, right? So I'm really not, my personality is not cut out for ice fishing. So I'm going to stick with what I know, do the seminars, do the shows, do some content in my studio at home, get ready for for fishing season. I think that's okay for winter for me.
Are you doing seminars at the show this weekend in Novi, or are all these seminars at your actual booth?
So we will be on Lake Ultimate, which is the inland lake here. We'll be doing our Detroit River jigging seminar, I think, 2 times on Thursday, 3 times on Friday, and 2 times on Saturday. I think that's how that works out. And then we have our electronics clinic at 10:30 on Sunday. Guys can come to the booth and sign up, or there'll be a post on our Facebook page, Teachin Fishin Tonight, about how they can sign up online. And then we've got little mini-Rs, little 10-minute little segments going on in our booth. We'll have that scheduled up tonight on the Teachin Fishin Facebook page.
Mini R's, I like that. Sir Lancelot, thanks for jumping on, bailing me out. Have a good show. The website, teachinfishin.com. That's teachinfishin.com. We'll take a break here in the Outdoor Magazine Show. When we come back, we'll wrap up this second hour of the show with this week's Ask Avery segment. Talking about a topic I don't really want to talk about. If you want to know what it is, you'll have to stick around for a few more minutes right here on Outdoor Magazine. You can hear the Outdoor Magazine Show in Sheboygan on Big Country Gold, WCBY, 1240 AM, 100.7 FM. You can hear us in Houghton Lake on the Twister, 92.1 WTWS. And you can hear us in Holland on WHTC, 1450 AM, 99.7 FM. I here in the studio today, I've got some Michigan brand. I like to bring in Michigan brand for the guys here. And, I like it too. What is this time, Jonathan? Is this smoked? It's peppercorn smoked turkey, and I love pepper. And I took a piece of it during the break, and John says, you might want to think about that. You might not want to eat that before you go into the last segment of the hour. And you know what, John? You were absolutely right. It's good, but it's not something you want to eat before you just go right in the air. The Ask Avery segment is brought to you each week by Security Credit Union. Security Credit Union loves to work with outdoorsmen and women, and they can help you with your next outdoor adventure. Check them out online at securitycu.org. That's securitycu.org. The way the Ask Avery segment works is this is your chance to get involved in the content of the show, the programming of the show. If there's something you would like to have discussed, either have me address it directly or pass it along to somebody else. This is your chance. The best way to get these questions to me is Mike at MikeAveryOutdoors.com, Mike at MikeAveryOutdoors.com. This week, the Ask Avery question comes about as a result of a post that I put on my Facebook page a few days ago. And it was a post from a guy who said, look at the wolves that I captured on my trail camera in the northern lower peninsula. And he sent those to me, and I posted them because he said it was okay. Now, I looked at those pictures, and I said right away that the first couple of pictures were just a coyote. I will admit with the second pictures, or the last pictures, it was a little harder to tell. I mean, they looked like they were maybe a little different body shape. And of course, that brought up the whole conversation of wolves in the northern lower, and then the word that makes me cringe started getting tossed around online, and that is coy wolf. I have talked with several people who are absolutely convinced they have seen wolves in the northern lower peninsula, and I'm not going to discount that because these are knowledgeable people. However, I do not believe that there are packs of wolves running around the northern lower or central Michigan, even as I hear about, in any large number at all. Because if there were, believe me, you would know about it. So then people say, well, if it's not a wolf, it's too big for a coyote. It must be a coy wolf. Now, coyotes this time of year, a big male can look pretty big with all that fur around him. I will talk more about the concept of coy wolves here on future shows. I'm in the process of learning more. Actually, I got access to some research papers that, if they are accurate, they're kind of changing my way of looking at things. But I'm going to say right now, I am very hesitant and very reluctant to throw out and use the term of coy wolf. Like people, oh, it's a coy wolf. It's a coy wolf. How could it be a coy wolf? Does it mean, if you're talking, the Lower Peninsula, does it mean that somehow a wolf and a coyote bred to make a coy wolf cross? I don't believe that. Does it mean the concept of there is some residual wolf DNA in coyotes? Well, that to me is very feasible and plausible. Either way, I don't want to get people thinking that direction. I don't want to get the wrong people thinking that direction. Because as you know, we can't have a wolf hunt here in Michigan because the antis, they go ballistic when you talk about shooting their beloved wolves. We don't need them turning their attention on coyotes too. And if the term coy wolf and the concept of wolf DNA in all of these coyotes roaming around Michigan, if that becomes generally accepted or proven, God forbid, then the antis will say, well, look, there's wolf DNA there, so we can't be hunting coyotes either. And they will put all of their money and resources behind that. We need to hunt coyotes. We need to get that population down, just like we need to have a wolf hunt in the UP. So please, before you start throwing that around and talking about it, just keep in mind that there's an ulterior motive here with people oftentimes using that term, and please don't use it. At least, please think before you use it. I don't know if I got time to get into this. Okay, speaking of wolves in the northern lower, I have actually had people tell me that they have seen in the northern lower peninsula game wardens swoop in on an inland lake, kick everybody off the lake, and then black helicopters, and this is no lie, this is a story told to me by multiple people, and then black helicopters flew into the lake, landed on the shore of the lake. They opened up the doors of these choppers, and in the chopper were cages filled with wolves. If you believe that, you better take that tinfoil hat off. But I cannot think of a topic in Michigan right now, other than deer management maybe, which ties into wolves, which carries more interest and excitement and frustration than our big predator problem in Michigan. Thank you to Security Credit Union for making each week's Ask Avery segment possible. SecurityCU.org, SecurityCU.org. We'll take a break for the top of the hour. When we come back, Tom Lounsbury and Chef Dixie Dave Miner.
Time now for Michigan's #1 outdoor radio show, Mike Avery's Outdoor Magazine. Mike Avery has covered the outdoors in Michigan for more than 4 decades, and that tradition continues today. Outdoor Magazine is brought to you by Jay's Sporting Goods, the Eider Insurance Group, Angler Quest Pontoons, the Forward Corporation, Primal Outdoors, Security Credit Union, Offshore Tackle, Garber Chevrolet, Rapid River Knife Works, and by Michigan Brand Meats. Now, here's Mike Avery.
Well, thank you, Ken Hunter, for that introduction, and welcome to hour number 3 of this week's Outdoor Magazine radio show here on the Outdoor Magazine Radio Network, and so glad to have you along with us. Well, we've been talking here for the last several weeks about the lack of winter. Are we going to have a winter? Looks now like we are, for at least a little while. If you were with me in the opening hour of this week's show, Michigan's meteorologist, Mark Torregrossa, said, he said, for the next couple of weeks, he said it's going to be winter, all right, and it's going to be cold. Might get some snow, and it's going to be cold. He did say, though, that after that, it's going to go back to a little milder. So I don't know. I say if you like outdoor wintertime activities, if you like the snow and you like the cold, jump on it now while it's here. I know a guy who likes wintertime outdoor activities, but I know the same guy who loves outdoor activities in general. His name is Tom Lounsbury. He is an outdoor writer. He's been an outdoor writer for a long, long time. He's also an outdoor broadcaster. He has his own radio show. He lives on the family farm. I think he's third generation on that farm. He's done a lot to improve the habitat there. But he's one of these guys that is so fascinating to talk to. If you ever get the chance to talk to Tom in person, if you run into him at a show or a dinner or something, take a few minutes and just talk to him a little bit, pick his brain, because he's just a wealth of knowledge. And I appreciate him joining us here on this third hour of this week's Outdoor Magazine show. Rambo, welcome back. How are you?
I'm doing fine, Mike, and it's always an honor to be on your show.
Honor, that's a very strong word. All right, the honor is mine.
Well, it's always good, and I am just elated because here on the farm, it's been just rain and everything. My 2 ponds they're still overflowing. There's been so much water coming down. They couldn't even get the corn off around me until almost the middle of December. And anyway, it's been, and rabbit hunting, it's just wet and muddy, and I like snow for rabbit hunting.
With the corn still standing, did that make for a tough deer season?
Yes, it did. It made for a tough deer season, made for a tough pheasant season. My wild birds, the minute they knew the gig was up, they flew to the corn or ran to the corn, and you just had a little window to get them in the morning and then towards the evening. Otherwise, they stayed in the corn.
So, all right, let me ask you a dumb question. If a bird spends the night in a tree like a turkey, it's a roost. Where do pheasants? Do we call it roost if they stay on the ground? Because they stay on the ground, don't they?
They're where they nest. We call it roosting even on the ground.
Okay,
that's where they're just settling down for the night, and it could be in a tree or on the ground. Pheasants have been known to roost in trees
really?
Too. But generally, if they got good grass cover, they prefer the grass. Less chance of predators, like owls and that, if they're in the grass.
So they would spend the day in the corn and then come back to the tall grass to roost at night.
Absolutely. And it got to the point, like during the December pheasant season, the only time I could pick up birds, it was, first of all, I had to be there right at the break of day in the morning, and then it was soon over. And then it was basically the last half hour of daylight was the opportunity you had to get pheasants when they're coming in to roost.
In the old days, or maybe this is still the case, didn't it be you couldn't start hunting until 10 in the morning?
Yes, and it changed about 30 years ago.
Oh, 30 years. I just really dated myself there, didn't I?
yeah, that was the way it was. And it was originally that 10 o'clock start was, the pheasant is primarily a private sector bird. And that 10 o'clock start was to allow farmers to get their chores done in the morning so they could join in on the hunt. And, of course, farming techniques had changed, and there wasn't a reason for doing that anymore, but they decided about 30 years ago. And it used to be they had a 10-bird limit, rooster limit. Well, that was an honor system. I stuck to it. When I got my 10 roosters, I started bow hunting. But now, it's 2 birds a day, and it's a good system.
Out there in the thumb where you are, beautiful part of the state, beautiful piece of ground you've got there. Are you still surrounded by farms for the most part, or have a lot of the landowners done what you've done and kind of turn them more into wildlife habitat?
Well, I'm fortunate in that I have a cousin that owns property across the road, and you and I have hunted that where the hills are, and that was when my uncle owned it, and that's in the cover, and then there's my cover here. Otherwise, we're just an island in a sea of farmland.
It's got to be a wildlife sanctuary in some ways, though, isn't it?
Oh yes, and you want to draw a deer in. A lot of people are into planting trees and everything, which doesn't do pheasants much good. But anyway, trees take a long time. I found out you want to get deer quickly in an area, plant warm season prairie grasses, and during the summer, white-tailed does love my prairie grass as a nursery. Because they can spread their fawns out, and it's just a nice place for them. So and turkeys. Never had turkeys on my farm yet. A couple of years ago, I shot my biggest gobbler on the back of the farm. So they come. They're not here all the time, but in the springtime they like to be here. And I have hens nesting too. Actually, the hens will nest even in the prairie grass. Where
do they go when they're not in your place?
Oh, well, I got nearby woods, in the distance. They head for that. They're going for food sources and that. What they like about my prairie grass is when they have chicks, because I don't spray or have insecticides or anything like that. I get a kick out of it. You'll see in the farm lane, it'll be turkey hens and pheasant hens with their chicks going after grasshoppers, like late summer.
Well, and it was when farmers really started using insecticide that the Michigan pheasant population took a hit, wasn't
it? Insecticides and especially herbicides. When you and I were kids, cornfields were on the weedy side.
Oh, geez,
and actually the corn rows were further apart. You could actually walk down them. And now the rows are more narrow and they're pristine. The herbicides, and you can't blame the farmer.
No.
I mean, that's the way they make their money. So, but it's way different today than it was then. It's a combination of insecticides and especially herbicides, and then the removal of fence rows and everybody used to have cattle way back when, a few cows and that. Well, there's no more no pastures or anything like that.
You talked about trees for whitetail habitat too. At one time, everybody, including the DNR, was encouraging people to plant autumn olive, and then they've moved away from that. What's the problem with autumn olive?
Oh my! I have to say, oh my, Mike. They told me when I first started building here. Well, I started building our home in 1976, and they were encouraging putting autumn olive in. It was the wonder plant. Even the National Wild Turkey Federation promoted it. I remember Pheasants Forever even promoting it. But then they found out that, oh my, it's actually from autumn olive, I think, is from like northern China or something like that. But anyway, I really liked it when I put it in, because within 3 years I had a berry producing hedge. And it can withstand rabbits gnawing on it and all this, and it's tough. But birds love those berries, and wherever that berry goes through a bird's digestive tract, it automatically grows. And with my prairie grass, one of my major problems is you could tell where the pheasants love to roost at night, because I have clumps of autumn olive coming up, because they've been eating the berries, and of course they always poop in their roost, during the night. And anyway, I just had my front field taken down. I'm under a mid-management. I have to do that in my program. I have to redo the grass, either burn it. What I had done on the front field was, it's called a masculator, and it's not a mower, but it's a real type deal. And I had the front field taken down in early November to meet the rules. I have to get rid of it, and I can't have autumn olive out there. And I found this masculator does a real good job of chewing up the thatch and everything. And I have to do my other two fields in the spring, my middle field and the back field. And I plan on the one is big autumn olive in it, and I'll use the masculator. And that really puts the hurt on autumn olive. And I'll probably do a burn on the back one that doesn't have as much. But autumn olive's so tough, fire won't kill it unless it's really hot.
Really?
Yeah. If it's young autumn olive, fire gets rid of it. But the big stuff, it hardly blinks. It gets all charred up, and then all of a sudden you see buds coming back.
Hang tight, Tom. We got to take a break here in the Outdoor Magazine Show. We're talking with Tom Lounsbury about all things outdoors. Guy's a wealth of information. I don't care what question I throw at him. He comes back with a knowledgeable and insightful answer, and I love that. More with Tom Lounsbury after the break right here on Outdoor Magazine. You can hear the Outdoor Magazine Show on stations across this great state of Michigan. And as soon as I find my list, I'll tell you what they are. You can hear us in Ludington on News 97, 98, 98.7 WLDN. You can hear us in Holt Lake on 98.5 WUPS. And you can hear us in St. Joe on WSJM 94.9 FM. This segment of Outdoor Magazine brought to you by Reader Landscaping. Reader can take care of your lawn and property because it's your nature and our nurture. Let Reader create an outdoor getaway in your backyard. This time of year, you're not thinking about that, but you know what you should be, because this is the time of year to start making plans for those springtime projects. The folks at Reader are going to get jammed up this spring, and good for them. But bad for you if you wait till the last minute to get on their list of projects. But in the meantime, if you have some snow removal that you want done, Reader can help you with that. In fact, I was at Costco the other day, and the Reader crews were taking care of the Costco lot. Now, that's a big job. They can take care of your big commercial job, and they can take care of your small residential job as well. Check them out online at readerlandscaping.com. That's readerlandscaping.com. I am talking now with Tom Lounsbury, a good friend of mine, a guy I've known for a long, long time, many, many years. Tom, when we first got on the show, I said, welcome back, Rambo. How did you get that nickname of Rambo?
Oh, well, I kind of earned it with the Michigan Outdoor Writers Association. I was kind of gung-ho when I was out there hunting, and probably one of the things that did it was I showed up for a rabbit hunt, and it was when Rambo was doing the movie, he was doing all this stuff with a bow and arrow, and I showed up for a rabbit hunt with a bow, and that kind of set everything off.
Set the tone
anyway,
right there, didn't
it stuck.
We were talking habitat management before, and you said there are certain things you have to do to stay in compliance. What does that mean? Is your property, well, back up. Tell me about your property. You're third generation on the farm now, or what?
Fourth
generation. You're out there.
And my late father would probably shoot me because he was into intensive farming, and I'm into doing what I'm doing with conservation. So, but he had his chance, and I got mine, and I'm in heaven. So. But you do have to, with prairie grass, warm season prairie grass, about at least 5 years, you want to get the cover, either burn it or like I'm having this thing grind up where the autumn olive is. Otherwise, it gets really raggedy and it's not really good. If you just let it go, the thatch builds up and the prairie grass just isn't as tall. And like this next fall, I'll have all 3 fields will be done by the time next fall rolls in, and I'm going to have splendid cover because of being rejuvenated. So,
but is this
a process?
Is this rejuvenation? Is that part of a guidelines that you have to stay in compliance with some kind of a program, or is this just habitat management that every so often you got to burn it off?
Well, I personally had it there until the autumn olive started getting out of hand. Had the fields on a 3-year cycle. That seemed to be the best. But with the autumn olive, and the reason I like mid-management is they'll pay up to half the cost of handling it. And you cannot have woody shrubs or anything on your prairie grass. That's a violation of the contract. And I tell you, thanks to the pheasants spreading the berries around, and thanks to them telling me 40 years ago to plant a whole lot of autumn olive, I got an ongoing situation that a minimum of 5 years to stay within the program. But there's been times like I had the backfield, I did that out of pocket. I had to grind it down because the automotive was getting so bad and the cover was bad.
You know, it seems like every once in a while, or maybe even quite often, we are told to do certain things, you know, in management or whatever, that looks like it's best practice at the time, but down the road we find out it was really kind of a mistake. Now, this is not always the case. You look at the introduction of pheasants. Boy, that was a great success story, wasn't it?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, 1917 was when they first released them in Michigan, southern Michigan, and actually they did it at that time. There's we still got a lot of railroads, but there was really a lot of, you know, crisscrossy railroads where they could just release the birds from these railroads, and that's how they did it. And then they didn't hunt them for 8 years. My dad remembers when they first released pheasants, and he can remember he was 12 years old in 1925 when they had their first pheasant season. But the pheasants at that point had gotten to be a nuisance, but the habitat was just ideal for pheasants at that time, and it was that way, you know, all the way up into the 1960s.
Pheasants as a nuisance, that's something I'd like to see.
Oh, yeah. Well, he remembers them. They would roost in the orchard in the apple trees, and there'd be so many on a limb, they'd break the limbs down. He remembers that.
Well,
but anyway, and I do remember when I was younger, the pheasants quite often did roost in the trees. But when you get a nice expanse of grass cover, they do prefer that more than roosting in a tree.
Well, let's turn our attention from something that was introduced here to something that's a native critter, our friendly little bunnies that we like to hunt so much.
Oh, well, one of the things I did on the farm, and autumn olive is part of it. It's mixed in with briars and evergreens and autumn olive. I call it my rabbitat.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the reasons I'm glad to see the snow and colder temperatures is because it's basically a wetland, involves a wildlife pond and all that. But the rabbits, we got a bumper crop here in the thumb anyway, a bumper crop of cottontails this year.
Do you traditionally wait until it gets cold and freezes? Because I some people I've talked to who hunt rabbits wait until, you know, it kills the little parasites and little critters that live on the rabbits. Is that a factor at all, a concern?
Well, actually, that's what they say. The rabbits, even in the winter, are going to have like fleas and everything. The worst thing you can do is you shoot a rabbit is bring it into room temperature, and trust me, the fleas are going to wake up and be all around your house. We always do that outside, and we wear rubber gloves when we're doing rabbits because they live in poison ivy. They even eat it, and so we do that. But I don't start hunting, to answer your question, I start around Christmas time, primarily because I've got pheasant hunting and deer hunting and even some squirrel hunting going on prior to that. And then usually Christmas is when I start doing we do a family rabbit drive where I turn out the kennel of dogs and even my bird dogs. And I'm one of the pooches, and I like to put people into pinch points where the rabbits, you know, or close to where they're going to head for cover, and then I go through that cover. And in my rabbitat here with all the briars and stuff like that, I really like having a dog working, and it's not like when you got beagles singing. This is a drive, and I just love hearing the standers when their guns start going off. Sometimes I don't even see a rabbit. I'm back pushing them, but I do love hearing the guns go off and doing that.
Tom, don't you know you can only hunt rabbits with beagles?
Well, I got a friend I have come over and bring his beagles, and I leave my flush dogs. It's a whole different kind of hunting system. But you are right, Mike. There is nothing better, and a lot of people should give it a whirl. Go with somebody with beagles, because there's nothing like listening to beagles in the brisk air howling after rabbits.
That is truly one of the great outdoor Michigan wintertime traditions.
Oh, it is. What really got me was 2 years ago, it was through Pheasants Forever, but I had some kids from Frankenmuth. They were on the Shotgun League or something like that. I had a half a dozen of them come to the farm, and I had a friend of mine that he runs beagles. He had a couple good beagles, and I made sure each kid had an adult with them, and I fixed up a half a dozen different stations around through my habitat. And anyway, and then my friend turned the beagles loose, and only the kid could have a shotgun. This was strictly for kids only. And I was really amazed that it was the first time for the kids to ever go rabbit hunting. It was also the first time for most of the adults to go rabbit hunting. Everybody was into, mainly deer hunting. Small game hunting, people should, they complain about the base license. Don't complain. Go out and utilize it.
I want to come back to small game hunting, and I think that's an opportunity we are missing as a culture these days. But, I was just pulling your leg about using only beagles for rabbits.
Oh, no,
because I want our listeners to know you have a very interesting way that you hunt rabbits. Tell me about that.
Well, my rabbit drive is I put people in the stands. And actually, I've been on hunts where it was just people being the drivers and pushing rabbits. But in my kind of cover, and it doesn't matter, the breed of dog doesn't matter, as long as the dog stays close and works around you. One of my best drive dogs at one time was a dachshund. anyway,
now, I would have paid money to see that.
Yeah. Anyway, if it could run any faster, that little dog, I wouldn't have needed a gun. It would have got the rabbits. But it was really an aggressive little dog. But anyway, what I have is a couple mountain curs and German short hair. And I recently ended up, a niece of mine had a red bone hound and found out it wasn't the best thing to have in a suburb. She found out she didn't realize how many squirrels and raccoons she had. So I even used that red bone hound, a couple of mountain curs and a German short hair and a little terrier. And anyway, they can really route around through that cover, and they stay. I got them trained so that we're basically in a line and moving through the cover. And anyway, it moves the rabbits. Actually, if I want to shoot a lot of rabbits, I do a rabbit drive, and you want to know the habitat and where to set people. But it can get real interesting quick. But then again, you got the beagles, and I just love listening to beagles sing. And I am planning on having kids here again and having my friend come with his beagles and set them up, because I like introducing kids to small game hunting. I took several pheasant hunting also this year, and some got their first wild roosters. And anyway, I just like introducing kids to small game hunting.
Tom, can you hang around? I'd like to offer you the coveted third segment if you've got the time.
It'd be my pleasure, Mike.
Hey, you're retired now. You got nothing else to do but be on the Outdoor Magazine show. We'll take a break.
Okay.
We'll take a break. More with Tom Lounsbury coming up. I want to talk to him about getting kids involved in the outdoors, about hunting small game, taking advantage of that Michigan outdoor tradition, and we'll see what else we have time for coming up right here on Outdoor Magazine. You can hear the Outdoor Magazine show in Manistee on WMLQ 97.7 FM. You can hear us in This is interesting. You can hear us in Manistee, and you can hear us in Manistique in the Yup, WTIQ 1490 AM, 95.3 FM. And you can also hear us in Saginaw on WSGW AM, 790 AM, and 100.5 FM. I'm in the studios of WSGW right now. I'm here with Jonathan Dent. Doing a great job, John. I appreciate that very much. This segment of Outdoor Magazine is brought to you by Matt Smith Outdoors Realtor. Matt, a really good guy. I've known him for a long, long time. He is an expert at finding recreational properties and vacation homes, and he can help your family turn a dream into a reality. You might say, well, is this the right time to do it? When I was talking to Matt a few weeks ago, he said, that's a great question, but he said, when is the right time to do it? When is the perfect time? If you wait until the perfect time with property prices or economic conditions or your bank account. If you wait till the perfect time to make it happen, it likely will not happen. So what you have to do is decide, okay, this is a goal, it's something we're going to work for and work toward, and then reach out to a guy like Matt. And I'm not just talking about, vacation properties, your house up north, a cottage. I'm talking about your primary residence as well. Matt Smith can help you out there. He's a straight shooter, a good guy, very knowledgeable. That's Matt Smith Outdoors. You can find him on Facebook and Instagram. Matt Smith Outdoors on Facebook and Instagram. Talking now with Tom Lounsbury, well-known Michigan outdoorsman. He's been around the outdoor scene here in our great state for just a couple of years now. Just a couple of years.
Yeah.
I want to go back to something you touched on before. Two topics, and I think we can roll them into one answer here. The importance of getting kids involved in the outdoors, teaching our hunting and fishing heritage to future generations, and this often overlooked opportunity these days of small game hunting. I think those go hand in hand, Tom.
Oh, absolutely. And the fact of the matter is, kids that get introduced just deer hunting, they're sitting there, they got to be quiet. There might be some boredom involved, but you go small game hunting, especially if we're talking beagles on rabbits. Oh, it's nothing like the kid's going to be fully involved when he starts hearing the beagles singing. And another thing I like, and I plan on doing it this winter, is taking kids with squirrel dogs. You talk about, the rabbits and the beagles. Boy, you go out with a squirrel dog, and that's a great, along with rabbit hunting, it's squirrel hunting, winter squirrel hunting is a great pastime. And you can hunt squirrels the regular way, but I've been kind of spoiled lately with having my mountain curs, and now I have a red-bone hound. But anyway, you take the kids into the woods, and it's really animated. Trust me, and the kids are right in it. It's not like you're just sitting there watching. You got the kid really involved, and I really think a kid that gets introduced into small game hunting, it's an easy step for him to go from there into deer hunting. My three sons, they were shooting rabbits and squirrels before they ever went deer hunting. So and I think if you're good at small game hunting, deer hunting is just a natural transition.
My granddad always said that. He said, if you can sit still enough to shoot squirrels, you can sit still enough to shoot a deer.
No truer words, wiser words have been said. If you're a good squirrel hunter, the old-fashioned just sitting there or stalking around or moving in and into the cover. And let me tell you, you got to be a good shot, too. If you're a good squirrel hunting, deer hunting it's going to be a no-brainer.
And you're going to have so much more opportunity probably for action, more opportunities probably to shoot and to miss, which is all part of the process.
Oh, yeah. I've been known to miss quite a bit.
Haven't we all?
And I always act like I know what I'm doing when I do this unbelievable shot that was pure luck. So.
If you had to pick, Tom, before we let you go, of all the different things you've hunted, all the different hunting opportunities here in our great state, and I would never do this to you because it would break your heart. If I would say, Tom, you've got to leave everything else behind and just concentrate on this, what would it be?
Pheasant hunting.
You didn't even hesitate.
Well, yeah, but oh boy, that's a real hard one. The pheasant hunting is what I started with when I was a real little kid, just walking out with my mother and then accompanying the other hunters. Our farm used to look like the county fair parking lot with all the visiting hunters stopping by to go hunting on the farm, and what an atmosphere. And I try to redo that a bit because I invite quite a few people on opening day and different times. I like introducing people to it, and especially kids. Oh, I like having kids show up. There's nothing like walking out with bird dogs and going after. These are wild pheasants. They're not easy, and it's a lot of fun. I just live for my pheasant hunting, but I live for them all. Like I got to have it all. But pheasant hunting is always been a key thing with me ever since I was real little.
Tom, always a pleasure. I enjoy our conversations, and I will look forward to talking again soon.
I will look forward to it, Mike, and Happy New Year.
Happy New Year to you as well, my friend. Tom Lounsbury right here on the Outdoor Magazine show. You can look for Tom's writings. He writes fairly proficient writer, and he's also got a very nice radio show as well. Check that out. We'll take a break here in the Outdoor Magazine show. When we come back, we'll wrap it up with wild game chef extraordinaire Dixie Dave Minar right here on Outdoor Magazine. Welcome back to Outdoor Magazine. My name is Mike Avery. So glad to have you along with us. I look forward to sitting here in the studio every week. I can't think of anything else I would rather do. Well, I can. And that would be to be out on the water. But since I can't do that right now, I might as well be here in the studio. And I'm really, I feel blessed that I can talk with people who are so knowledgeable. I feel very fortunate that over the years I've been able to put together, using an old-fashioned term, a Rolodex. If you don't know what that is, that's a list of people I can reach out to, a list of contacts, to pick their brain about their areas of expertise. And you know, if you've heard this show at all, when I want to talk about wild game cooking, my expert is my good friend, wild game chef extraordinaire, Dixie Dave Minar, and he's with us once again. David, welcome back. How are you?
Oh, shoveling snow like everybody else.
Well, you knew it was coming, right?
Yeah, you can't pre-shovel.
Listen, as I was shoveling yesterday, I thought, I knew this was coming, but it didn't make it any easier because it was a heavy, wet snow.
Right.
What do you got for a recipe for us this week, David?
I got deer tag soup. I've never told any Wow.
I'm right there with you.
I guess we should start taking them bucks earlier in the year.
Well, see, that's just it. You know, you say, oh, and I know better than this, although I didn't really have opportunities this year, but you see a deer earlier in your season, you say, I'll shoot it later if I get a chance. I guess we should be wise enough at this point to know that you don't pass up something early in the season that you would actually shoot later in the season.
Really, I passed on a real nice 7-point, but I have my heart set on an 8-point.
That's why we have combo tags, so you can take that, smaller buck and then shoot the bigger buck.
I guess so. So anyway, we got a big stuffed walleye, some of them bigger fish that are going to be coming through the ice pretty soon. It's going to be a great recipe for this. You're going to need a couple of large skinless, boneless fillets. From maybe about a 5-pound fish if you got anything that big. Or you could use some smaller ones too. It would work out real good. Half a cup of dried cranberries, a medium onion diced very fine, 2 stalks of celery diced fine, a couple of beaten up eggs, any amount of garlic you like, 1, 2, 3, 4 cloves diced up fine. I like cilantro in this. You're going to need about a tablespoon of diced up cilantro, chopped kind of coarse. And I like walnuts in this. It really adds a lot of the flavor. So you need about a half a cup of that. Depending on how many fish you're going to do, you're going to need at least 2 cups of breadcrumbs or bread diced up, pretty fine. Dash of pepper and a dash of Worcestershire sauce. So in a large mixing bowl, mix all the ingredients. And then on a greased baking sheet, put the one fillet down that's skin side down, and then pile up on top of it nicely. Kind of squeeze it a little bit so that the bread will stick together. And then the other one, you're going to slice it from down the center, about 2 inches from each end. And so when you lay that over the top, that opening is going to look real nice, and it'll look like a real professional job, you know what I mean? And then you can drizzle it with some lemon, white wine, paprika, and you're going to bake it uncovered at 350 degrees for 15 or 20 minutes until done. You want to do it 180 degrees in the center because there's eggs there. And you can make a nice sauce with some butter, white wine and lemon juice and cook it down till it's thick and creamy and use that as a nice sauce for this. And it comes out great. We did this for the show, I don't know how many years ago, Mike.
Well, the thing about walleye, fish in general, and you've told me this many times, that oftentimes a bigger fish has a little bit stronger flavor. But even with walleye, it's such a delicate, tasty fish that you can take those big fillets and they still taste pretty darn good.
They sure do. Boy, you could even deep fry them, put a little bit of Cajun on it. Man, that makes a wonderful, wonderful deep fried fish dinner.
Well, when you start to deep fry something and put Cajun stuff on there, I'm thinking of crawdaddies.
Yeah, wow. Me too. I miss them.
So
enjoyed them a lot.
Oh, all right, David. Listen, always a pleasure. Hang tight. I want to talk to you off the air here. We got to talk a little bit more about our big Trinity Monitor Wild Game Dinner and Auction coming up Saturday, March 2nd. You're going to be a part of that again this year.
Yep.
The tickets will be going on sale very, very soon. I will let our friends know when that's coming up. But hang tight, Dave, and we'll talk a little bit more off the air. That's Wild Game Chef Extraordinaire Dixie Dave Minor. Just a great guy. Honestly, you talk about a sweetheart of a guy. I've never heard anybody have a bad thing to say about Dave because he's such just a gentle, nice guy who has had such an interesting life. Sometime here soon, I'm going to talk to Dave about how he got to where he was. I mean, he was a chef on a private yacht down in Florida, a guy who owned one of the NFL teams. Dave was his private chef. He's had a restaurant in Florida. He spent a lot of time down there, moved back to his native state of Michigan where he started the Old Dixie Inn. Then it was Oscar and Joey's. It was fine dining for a while, white tablecloths, and it went more to a casual dining. And then it became time when Dave just said, look, I have an opportunity here. I have to take advantage of it. And it's time to move on. And he did. But he's still a good friend of mine. I still love working with him. My name is Mike Avery. The website, MikeAveryOutdoors.com, MikeAveryOutdoors.com. My email address is Mike@MikeAveryOutdoors.com. I will have details on when you can get those tickets for our big Trinity Monitor Wild Game Dinner and Auction coming up very soon, and I look forward to talking with you next time right here on Outdoor Magazine.